Loud explosions were heard in Russia in the Moscow region and in Bryansk. On the night of September 29th, Ukrainian missiles and drones attacked several strategic targets in the Russian Federation at once. The most powerful strike was delivered against a defense plant in the Bryansk region. Daniil Diomin will tell us about the consequences of these attacks and how the Kremlin is responding to them.
After the drone attack in the city of Karachev-Bryansk region, a large-scale fire broke out. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine confirmed that drones hit the Electrodetail plant, an enterprise of the radio-electronic technologies concern. There they manufacture connectors and components for military equipment, aviation and space.
On September 29th, missile and artillery units struck the Karachev Electrodetail plant in the Bryansk region. Explosions and a fire were recorded on its territory. The results of the strike are being clarified.
The attack caused panic among local residents. A missile alert sounded in the region. The warning was also broadcast on television. At the same time, explosions were heard near Moscow. There, the Russian authorities claim to have shot down several UAVs. There will be fewer and fewer safe places in Russia, the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs warns.
Russia must clearly understand that today and in the future there will not be a single safe place for them, and that Ukrainian weapons and the Ukrainian army can reach any military targets on their territory. We have already proven the power of Ukrainian weaponry.
Belgorod has been left without electricity and water. According to local authorities, the strike damaged the energy infrastructure, most likely the thermal power plant. 2 people were injured. The restoration of electricity and water supply is ongoing.
Nothing is burning, nothing at all. We are waiting. In suspense, we're being romantic.
It's flashlights, it's candles.
Russia must clearly understand that civilized countries differ from wild ones in that they never strike first and are not aggressors. But that doesn't mean they are weak. And you shouldn't show weakness if you're threatened with a blackout. For example, in the capital. The Kremlin should know that there will be a blackout in the capital of Russia.
In temporarily occupied Feodosia, drones have once again hit the oil depot. This is already the second successful strike on the facility. Just last October, the local storage tanks there burned for a week, and in the spring the main fuel pipeline was damaged. They hit the JSC Marine Oil Terminal. This is the largest terminal in Crimea in terms of oil product transportation volumes. The night of September 29th marked another stage in the war of drones and missiles. Ukraine delivered significant strikes on Russia's strategic energy enterprises. Whether Ukrainian drone attacks can change the course of the war remains to be seen. But it is already clear that Russia's strategic depth is no longer a guarantee of security. Daniil Diomin, Podrobnosti, Inter TV channel, Marathon, United News.
I will ask Serhiy Kuzan, head of the Ukrainian Center for Security and Cooperation, for more details about Ukrainian deep strikes on Russian territory, the operational situation at the front, and military aid from our partners. Mr. Serhiy, greetings to you, glory to Ukraine.
Greetings to you, glory to the heroes.
Before we begin our conversation, I'd like to draw our viewers' attention to something. You can now see a QR code on your screens, and below it there is a card number. This is to support our military. Mr. Serhiy, could you tell us exactly what we are raising funds for?
This is actually for Medivac. In other words, it's a vehicle to evacuate our wounded, specifically the soldiers of the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade, who are currently fighting in the Donetsk direction. Their vehicle was destroyed. And in order to evacuate the wounded from the positions in time, in order to transport them in time both to stabilization points and further for treatment and to provide assistance, this vehicle is urgently needed. And the amount needed here is actually not that large. Considering the nature of the vehicle itself, Medivacs are generally expensive. That's why, of course, there's already an initial amount of over 20,000, but naturally more is needed, and it's important to close this fundraiser as soon as possible.
Dear viewers, 70,000 is needed. This isn't for weapons. Each of you can help save the life of a service member, our defender. Because with efficient and rapid transportation, valuable time will be significantly saved. And indeed, every single minute truly counts, especially since our brave servicemen and women are tragically bleeding out from relentless drone attacks, devastating artillery bombardments, and continuous perilous airstrikes. So please join this fundraiser. I know I talk a lot with... We record interviews with commanders, and all of them, as well as their families, donate. So join this fundraiser. Mr. Serhi, but let's not start with the front lines, but with the recent deep strikes. And I'm interested in your opinion since you've analyzed it. What are the consequences of these deep strikes? How does this affect the front lines on land?
Here, we need to talk about both the direct consequences for the front and, I would say, the consequences in the geopolitical dimension. Because these deep strikes of ours, of course, do not directly harm the units on the line of contact. It should be noted that the military are the most protected. However, all of this undoubtedly affects the economy of the Russian Federation. And of course, we see there are already the first statements from Russia that this year, or rather next year, they are projecting a decrease in revenue specifically from exports, for example, oil and gas. And all of this is precisely a consequence of our deep strikes, both on their oil storage facilities and, most importantly, on oil logistics, that is, on the places where oil and petroleum products are transferred and delivered for export. And so this is the economy of the Russian Federation, this is the lifeblood of Russia, and for us it is yet another lever, including in our international negotiations. So the topic of oil is no secret, that this is the main topic, or let's say an extremely sensitive issue for the American administration. And they clearly see that firstly, the Russian forces have not achieved any significant success whatsoever, even at the operational level on the entire front line, meaning they haven't managed to capture any major strategically important settlements. They absolutely do not have, let's say, the decisive breakthrough they had confidently promised as a direct result of their extensive summer offensive campaign. And instead, what we observe is Ukraine, with its own resources, mainly drones, and these are drones with relatively small warheads, about 30 kilograms, is delivering powerful strikes against the main logistics and Russian assets of the so-called gas station country. As a result, the country is simply losing its status. And this is incredible for a country that is not fighting with the traditional large number of missiles, as, for example, the Americans or Russians are used to fighting. So we have seen a shift in rhetoric among American politicians, and we are witnessing a change when even the American president, just imagine, is now commenting on the issue of providing us with additional types of weaponry worth truly significant amounts. When even the esteemed Vice President Jenny Vance, who just yesterday, actually last spring, was indeed actively attacking our president, seriously questioning our capabilities and our very survival as a nation. Today, he is already saying that in principle, yes, Tomahawk missiles are an issue that is currently being discussed in American political circles. And this is truly a coordinated effort, as we can see, including our military, who in fact have been supporting this diplomatic stance of Ukraine, of our entire diplomatic corps, especially now as there is a real shift in rhetoric in the United States. And I would really like to point out that just a week ago, we were still engaged in political games, so to speak, including discussing the article by the former commander-in-chief, which, frankly, for a country at war is not exactly timely. And today, we are already talking about the concrete results of our military, about the concrete results of our diplomacy, both on the territory of the Russian Federation and here at home, of course, to boost morale and, most importantly, in the world, where attitudes toward Ukraine are changing as a result of our truly precise, almost surgically precise and systematic strikes deep into Russian territory.